Hello, my name is Kat. It's a new year, so I'm a new person. I mean, not really, but these are the lies we tell ourselves. But what's not a lie is that there are a lot of really cool looking books coming out in 2021. So today I thought I would share some of my most anticipated releases of the first few months of 2021. I need to divide my most anticipated into seasons. So here are the 6 books that are coming out in winter/early spring that I am just most excited for. So first up, I have here Lore by Alexandra Bracken, which is out January 5th. This is the BOOKSPLOSION Book of the Month pick for January, which is sponsored by Disney Book Group, and I am so excited for this. As you may already know, Alexandra Bracken is one of my favorite authors, and this story, blending urban fantasy and Greek mythology with a feminist angle, just sounds like extremely my thing. Basically, in this book, every 7 years, there's this event where, as punishment for a previous rebellion, these 9 Greek gods are made temporarily mortal, and they are hunted by rivals who are eager to kill a god and claim their divine powers and their immortality. Our main character is a girl named Lore, whose family was killed during one of these hunts, and so she kind of turned her back on the whole godly scene and fled, pushing away thoughts of revenge against the man who is now a god who killed her family. But when the next hunt occurs, Lore finds herself pulled back into the middle of things by both her childhood friend who she thought was dead and a gravely wounded Athena, who promises Lore a way to leave the gods for good in exchange for her help. But of course, helping Athena and getting involved in the hunt again is not going to be easy. So yeah, this sounds all kinds of awesome, and I am really excited to read a new Alexandra Bracken book. And if you're interested in joining BOOKSPLOSION for our read-along this month, again, Lore is out on January 5th in hardcover, ebook, and audio, and all other relevant read-along info is down in the description below. The next book I want to talk about is This Is Not the Jess Show by Carey, which is out February 2nd. And this is the BOOKSPLOSION Book of the Month pick for February, which is sponsored by Quirk Books. And this is a contemporary-ish standalone. Basically, the year is 1998, and our main character, Jess, is a normal teen living in a small town and dealing with normal problems like overprotective parents and a new crush on her childhood friend. Everything is normal. Jess has a normal 90s life. Until one day, this sleek black object with an Apple logo on it falls out of her friend's backpack. And she starts to notice more and more unusual things, and she begins to question everything around her. I am super excited to see how this concept plays out. It seems like it's gonna have some mystery thriller aspects and like Black Mirror kind of vibes, and I'm real intrigued. But yeah, again, this is going to be the BOOKSPLOSION Book of the Month pick for February, and all of the read-along info is in the description if you're interested in joining us. Next up is Across the Green Grass Fields by Shauna Maguire, and this is out on January 12th. This is the 6th novella in the Wayward Children series, which is a collection of portal fantasies. With this series, there's a chronological storyline that runs through the odd-numbered books, and then the even-numbered books are more standalone, but they are still occasionally connected with like crossover characters or worlds. So you can probably read this book as a standalone, but I would encourage you to read the entire series because it's very good. I love how this series explores portal fantasy and the whole like answering the call to adventure, but also the angle of like what happens when you come back home. I love all the different worlds and the world building and the themes and representation. But I think most of all, I love the writing. I think Shauna Maguire just does wonderful things with language. Like, this is a series of novellas, and yet each one feels so rich, and she just manages to pack so much into like choice words. It's really it's good stuff. With this particular book, we are going into like a horse themed world. It's called The Hooflands, and it's full of unicorns and centaurs and kelpies and other horse-like creatures. Now, personally, I have never really been into horse stories. Like, there's this whole genre of like girl and her horse kind of stories that's just never really been my thing. So like, based on synopsis alone, this isn't the kind of thing I would normally pick up on my own, but because of my love for the series and Shauna Maguire's writing, I am actually quite keen to pick this up and give it a go. The next book I want to talk about is A Vow So Bold and Deadly by Bridget Kemmerer, and this is out on January 26th. And this is the third and final book in the Cursebreakers trilogy. Now, I loved the first book. It's a Beauty and the Beast retelling where we follow a modern-day protagonist who is pulled into this fantasy world in order to attempt to break the prince's curse. And I really, really love that juxtaposition of like a modern day girl pulled into a fantasy world. Like that is extremely my thing. And I also loved that it felt like so much more than just a fairy tale retelling. Like, it's clear that there are Beauty and the Beast influences here, but I felt like the story really stood on its own as well. And that was just the first book. Like, I only read book 1 last year because I wanted to wait for the series to be complete to really get invested in book 2. Y'all know me, I love to marathon my series if I can. So yeah, with the third and final book coming out, I am very much looking forward to reading my way through books 2 and 3. The next book I want to talk about is Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare, which is out March 2nd. This is the second book in the Last Hours trilogy, which is, of course, set in the Shadowhunters world. Chronologically, this trilogy takes place after the Infernal Devices, and we follow some of the children of characters from the Infernal Devices. So you do have to read the Infernal Devices before you can read this trilogy, but you don't have to read all of the Shadowhunter books before you can get to this trilogy. Like, you just gotta read the Infernal Devices, which is a perfectly valid place to start in the Shadowhunter world, and then you can jump into the Last Hours trilogy. But because this is book 2 in a trilogy that is sort of a sequel to another trilogy, there's not really much I can say about this book while avoiding spoilers completely. So all I'm gonna say is that I loved book 1. It was one of my favorite reads of last year, and I'm so glad that we seem to be getting this trilogy on a yearly basis so we don't have any large waiting gaps. And I might be jinxing all of us by saying that because I don't actually know when book 3 is supposed to come out, but hopefully next year. Oh god, 2022 sounds fake, but okay. Next up, I want to talk a little bit about Rule of Wolves by Leigh Bardugo, which is out March 30th. This is the sequel / conclusion to the King of Scars duology, and I don't really want to say much about this book because it follows characters from both the Shadow and Bone trilogy and the Six of Crows duology. So yeah, I like don't even want to say who the main characters are, just to, you know, err on the side of caution, re-spoilers. I will say that I recommend the Shadow and Bone trilogy and the Six of Crows duology. Both are fantastic. It's a great series and world to get invested in, especially now because there's a Netflix show that is coming out in April, I believe. I don't think we have an exact date, but the show is gonna follow characters and events from just all of the Grishaverse books, so now is a good time to get into the series. I might actually try to do a reread of at least the Shadow and Bone trilogy. Like, I feel like the Six of Crows duology is more fresh in my brain, but it's been a long time since I read the Shadow and Bone trilogy, so yeah, might try to give that a reread. But even if I don't do a reread, I'm hoping that this book will get me good and hyped for the show, which I really hope the show is good. Like, I'm nervous, but I'm excited, and I just I want it to be good. I really want it to be good. In my jaded old age, I have become sort of wary of adaptations, but it looks promising. I really love the cast, and I really hope the show is good. And finally, I was only going to talk about books coming out in the first 3 months of the year, but there is one April release that I am just really, really eager for, and that is Fugitive Telemetry by Martha Wells. This is the 6th installment in the Murderbot Diaries, which is one of my favorite things I read in 2020. It's a series of mostly novellas. The first 4 books are novellas, and then book 5 was a full-length novel, which was a real treat. And then book 6 is another novella, which is fine, like I'll take it, but I would have adored another full-length novel. Like, I love this series. Basically, this is a futuristic sci-fi series where our main character is Murderbot, an android with just enough human bits to have emotions and not know how to deal with them. Murderbot is a security unit, a sec unit, who is supposed to protect these humans as they explore a dangerous new planet. And Murderbot is really good at protecting them and saving their lives, and really bad at social interactions. And that combination is just a great deal of fun. Like, Murderbot has gotta be one of my favorite protagonists. I adore the sci-fi elements in the series. Like, the way Murderbot uses technology and its hacking skills, it feels like a really cool magic system, even though it's technology-based. It's just a really cool world with a really great protagonist and a lot of really fun adventures. And yeah, again, this series was one of the best things I read in 2020, so of course, I am very excited for the next installment. But yeah, I think that is just about gonna do it. Those are the 6 new releases that I am most excited to read in these first few months of 2021. Of course, there are many more releases that I am excited for, but they are coming out later in the year, so we'll be talking about those in future videos. I'm pretty sure you know what my most anticipated book of the year is. You can go ahead and make a guess if you even feel that guessing is necessary, which it's not. It's exactly what you think it is. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you are having a lovely new year, and I will have another video up soon. I really mean it this time. Until then, bye!